regulations for PFAS chemicals under the Safe Drinking Water Act. And we're also moving to designate certain PFAS as hazardous substances under EPA's Superfund law. For years, the Superfund program has successfully protected American communities by requiring polluters to pay to clean up the hazardous waste and pollution that they themselves have released in our environment. This strategy will leverage EPA's existing authority to take bold action to restrict chemicals from entering the land, the air, the water, and land at all levels that are harmful to public health and the environment. My experience at both the state and federal level has made it clear that we need to strengthen government's legal authority to protect the public as they deserve. Third, we will immediately broaden and accelerate the cleanup of PFAS contamination that we now know of today. When EPA becomes aware of a situation where PFAS poses a serious threat to the health of a community, we will not hesitate to take swift action, strong enforcement to address the threat and hold polluters accountable all across the country. Where we find contamination, we will seek necessary monitoring and cleanup from the polluters. This strategy is guided by President Biden's whole of government approach, which means EPA will work very closely with all of our federal partners, from Health and Human Services to the Department of Defense, to identify facilities where PFAS have been used and are known to be a source of contamination. In partnership with DoD, we will conduct research into testing and control technologies that will support federal agencies and communities in their efforts to address contamination. There are also a number of other actions we'll take. Among one is including a final toxicity assessment in the coming days for Gen X, which will ensure that no other community has to go through what the Cape Fear River communities had to endure. Each of these actions on their own are important, but the cumulative impact is far greater than the sum of its parts. This is a strategic alignment and an acceleration of EPA's research, regulation, and enforcement that finally addresses the full life cycle of these chemicals. Despite the depleted resources and overstretched staff at EPA, this year, my team has done more in 8 months to address this issue than the previous administration did in 48 months. And let me be clear, these actions, they're critical, but they're not enough. And that's why I'm grateful for my colleagues in Congress for developing much needed bipartisan legislation to confront this problem head on. And I respect and appreciate all of the voices of the citizen activists and the nonprofits who are calling for faster and more aggressive action. President Biden has called for more than $10 billion in funding to help address PFAS contamination through his Build Back Better agenda. These critical resources will enable EPA and other federal agencies to scale up the research and work so that they're commensurate with the scale of the challenges that we all face together. State regulators, well, throughout this country, on both sides of the aisle, they're stepping up as well. Here in North Carolina, Secretary Biza just issued a $300,000 fine to Chemours for failing to meet its obligation to protect the people of North Carolina. Secretary Biza is setting the standard. This is the kind of accountability that we want to see all over the country and that we will work with states to achieve. When I look across the country and I see the challenges communities are facing with PFAS, I know that there are lessons that others have learned, that we have learned, that we can share with each other. Every level of government, from local to state to tribal to federal, will need to exercise increased and sustained leadership to ensure we protect the American people. We also need the continued partnership of our advocacy group and our community activists. They play such an important role. They made us listen. I've heard you. We've learned from you. and we're learning from your experiences. You all have inspired me to never give up and to keep pushing that envelope. I know many will ask, well, why should we trust EPA right now? So many communities have been let down before, time and time again. You're tired of us sounding the alarm. You're tired of worrying. You're tired of feeling like no one's listening. One thing that I've learned throughout my career is trust must be earned. I know that you need to see action, and I believe that the national strategy that we're laying out shows and demonstrates strong and forceful action from EPA, a willingness to use all of our authorities, all of our tools, all of our talent to tackle PFAS. We have a long way to go, but we are going to get this right together, not with empty rhetoric, but with real solutions and a pledge to hold the polluters accountable for the decades of unchecked devastation that they've caused. I'm committing to you all today that everything EPA does, from addressing PFAS to advancing environmental justice, will be done and will be done putting people first. You will never have to wonder what EPA is about. We are about you. We are about your families. We are about your children. We are about your neighborhoods and your communities, and we will fight for you every single day. Thank you.
Thank you, Administrator Regan, Governor Cooper, and Congresswoman Ross. Administrator Regan, we appreciate your partnership and your leadership on these issues. We are excited about the roadmap, and we look forward to the work ahead with you. We all have a lot of work ahead, but with coordination at all levels of government, with our elected officials and our public servants, we can protect the communities and the residents throughout North Carolina and across the nation. Thank you all for joining us here today.